You come from here. There it is. Yes. I mean, you go on those 2 days.
Okay. And are you ready to go then, Jennifer?
Yes, you're live, Madam Chair.
We can start anytime.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. I now call to order this work session of the Anchorage Assembly confirmation hearing for Mario Bird, Municipal Attorney. It is Friday, August 26, 2022. We are noticed from 11:10 to 11:40 a.m. today. We'll go ahead and start with Assembly member introductions for the record.
Pete Peterson.
Felix Rivera.
Daniel Voland.
Meg Zalatow.
Kevin Cross.
Austin Quinn Davidson.
Forrest Dunbar.
Cameron Perez Video.
Suzanne LaFrance, and then on the phone, I believe we have Ms. Allard. Ms. Allard, are you on the line? Mr. Solt?
Present.
Thank you, Mr. Solt. We are also joined by members of the administration. If you go ahead and state your name for the records as well.
Through the chair, Mario Bird, Municipal Attorney Appointee.
Amy Domboski, Municipal Manager.
Jared Gerker, Deputy Director of the Human Resource Department.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here today. We'll start first, I believe, either Ms. Domboski or Mr. Gerber.
Gerker.
Gerger.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Gerger. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Through the chair, we just wanted to give a quick high-level overview of the vetting done for these appointees. As I said previously, Mr. Braniff and Mr. Bird's applications with the municipality were thoroughly vetted by the Human Resource Department and our third-party vendor, Pinnacle. The steps taken to validate their credentials and experience are as follows. They both received a criminal and credit background check through Pinnacle. Their names were checked in the CourtView database by HR staff. They both had their highest levels of education verified through Pinnacle. In addition, they provided their transcripts and all appropriate Alaska bar certifications. Their past employment was verified through Pinnacle. 3 employers or up to 10 years, whichever was longer, and multiple references were checked for both of them by the HR staff, and we have the highest levels of confidence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the Assembly, it's a privilege to introduce you today to Mario Lincoln Bird. He was born in Soldotna, Alaska in 1981. His parents were teachers in the Kenai Peninsula Borough School District for over 40 years. Mario was a 2-time state champion runner and graduated valedictorian from McKiskey High School in 2000. He attended the University of Notre Dame, where he majored in film and graduated magna cum laude in 2004. He worked as a film editor and videographer for the Alaska Channel after moving to Anchorage in 2006, and he met his wife, Teresa, shortly thereafter. In 2009, after 2 years of teaching at Holy Rosary Academy in Midtown, Mario was awarded full tuition scholarship to attend Ave Maria Law School in Florida. He moved his family to Florida for the next 3 years, returning to Alaska in the summers to clerk for the Anchorage firm of Ross and Minor. He graduated in 2012 magna cum laude with awards for advocacy and oratory and began full-time work as an associate attorney at Ross and Minor. He was made junior partner in 2015 and opened his solo practice in 2019. As an attorney, Mario represented the Bone family in the Brett Bone guardianship case in 2013, where a young hunting guide was hospitalized against his will, made a ward of the state, and eventually released from guardianship with full restoration of his civil rights. Mario has successfully appealed and argued before the Alaska Supreme Court and maintained an active civil litigation practice before his appointment as the municipal attorney in July of 2022. He enjoys biking on Anchorage trails, hiking in the mountains, hunting in the fall, and otherwise being outdoors in Alaska. Mario and his wife, Teresa, are the proud parents of 8 children, all of whom are required to learn and play wiffle ball. Mayor Bronson respectfully asks the Assembly to confirm Mr. Byrd to the position of municipal attorney.
And I want to note for the record that we've been joined by Ms. Allard at 11:14.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair, well, I'm a lawyer. You're going to get a disclaimer up front. I just want to let you know when I moved my family to Florida for law school, I did maintain Alaska residency, and it has been checked by the PFD division. So that was perhaps an inartful turn of phrase. With that disclaimer out of the way, my name is Mario Lincoln Byrd, and I am your municipal attorney appointee. Before I address my personal history, education, and career, I'd like to tell you something about what Anchorage means to me as somebody who grew up in small town Alaska. You can consider it a love letter of sorts to our fair city. For a boy growing up on the Kenai Peninsula, Anchorage was and is the city. It's only 15 minutes from Alaska. Half of Alaska's population is here, and it's the hub of transportation for our state. Anchorage was the place where planes came and went, and therefore where my family came and went when going to see relatives in the lower 48. It was also the place where my little brother's life was saved when he was born premature with underdeveloped lungs and medevaced from the old Lutheran Hospital in Soldotna to the old Humana Hospital in Anchorage. My little sister was born at Providence here a few years later. As I grew older, Anchorage was the once or twice a year visit that included school clothes, Christmas gifts, and best of all, as I came to possess pocket cash, no retail sales tax, which, as you know, the city continues that policy to this day. Anchorage and its people are also artistic and given to hobbies and sport. This meant for me occasional trips to the Performing Arts Center, where I'm pretty sure I saw Phantom of the Opera in the mid to late 90s. And I know I regretted missing the Manhattan Transfer's Offbeat of Avenues tour in the early 90s. Personal note, offbeat indeed, in my humble opinion. Not extraordinary, but it was a singular album. I was twice on the pack stage myself for the Scripps Howard ADN Spelling Bee, and I have to admit, I never made it past the third round. Later, as an aspiring filmmaker, I shot a number of film noir shorts in Anchorage because, well, you can't have film noir without the city. I had a feature-length film play in the snow dance category of the Anchorage International Film Festival in 2004, back when the Earthquake Theater was still in a dome downtown. And the arts were what eventually brought me from Kenai to Anchorage permanently. I'll always be grateful to Bob and Yael Kaufman at the Alaska Channel for offering me a job and helping me to find my foothold in Anchorage in 2006. And sports. Oh, Anchorage sports in the 90s. For those of you who remember, everybody loved Alyeska and Tommy Moe. I didn't see the Aces, but our hockey team did watch a Seawolves game after they jumped to Division I at the Sullivan Arena. And no disrespect to the other great high school programs back then, but East High was king. Trajan Langdon put Alaska on the map. Scotty Gomez kept it there. And I was a contemporary of Keegan Randall during her cross-country and track duels with Darcy Dugan of Diamond. Yet few things conjure my Anchorage memories like the words Little League All-Stars and AOR. The New York Yankees' reign of terror in the major leagues is nothing compared to the Abbott O'Malley Rabbit District 1 dominance of the mid-90s. The kids from South Anchorage, it must be mentioned, were the dreaded draw in every double elimination tournament, and still my crowning athletic achievement to have played on a Kenai team that bested for one glorious evening at the old Simonian field off of Pongo Pongo. Details upon request, and preferably over an Arctic Rhino coffee porter. So now you know a little bit about me and my love for Anchorage. So what sort of municipal attorney will I be? 3 things. I'll be practical, I'll be a zealous advocate, and I'll be dedicated to the rule of law. First, I'll be practical. Practicality demands delegation of most tasks and assumption of some. The Anchorage Charter requires the municipal attorney to advise and assist the municipal government on legal matters. Most, but not all of those matters fall within the executive branch, where the municipal attorney is also located. And with thousands of employees in many different disciplines, That means a very broad swath of legal matters. The good news that you already know is that the municipal attorney has a crack team of attorneys who have been representing the government long before I arrived. And as I see it, and I've told my attorneys, most of my job involves me learning the issue from the team, and in most cases, delegating or giving general direction. Second, I'll be a zealous advocate. This means not only knowing the law, but giving the client the best possible advice. It may mean multiple options. It may mean only one option. As lawyers love to say and as clients hate to hear, well, it depends. But it's an attorney's job to make clear what the issue depends upon, and then to defend or prosecute on behalf of the client to the utmost within the bounds of the law. That is what I did in private practice. That is what I've done since my appointment in early July, and if confirmed, will continue to do on behalf of the municipality. That brings me to my third point, dedication to the rule of law. By adhering to the rule of law, the municipal attorney not only keeps government policy within the bounds of legality and keeps the municipality out of court, but also passes on the institutional knowledge of yesteryear. In that way, the municipal attorney is a preserver of tradition. He or she accepts what has been handed down from the past and eventually commits it to future municipal attorneys. I've already spoken with some of you about the very good archival system in the municipal attorney office. Most, if not all, of the major issues I've seen in the past 7 weeks have been addressed before. Of course, there will always be exceptions, and it is at that point when attorneys refer to outside sources of law, be it Alaska Supreme Court case or federal case law, Alaska statutes, or persuasive authority from other jurisdictions. Should the Assembly confirm me, you can expect me to keep this tradition of the rule of law. To conclude, it's an honor and a privilege to have been appointed by Mayor Bronson as your municipal attorney for Anchorage. If confirmed, I will return that honor by advising and assisting the municipality as a practical, zealous advocate who is dedicated to the rule of law and who has a great affection for the city and the people of Anchorage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Before I go through the queue, I want to note that members are urged to keep in mind that we want to be careful concerning the reputations of nominees. Questions should be limited to education and work experience. Please be aware of any sensitive personnel issues that may not be legally permissible for discussion in a public forum. If members have relevant questions concerning personal characteristics or habits of the nominee that they believe are germane to the question of the candidate's professional qualifications, we can consult with legal counsel to consider holding a special meeting, an executive session on a later date, or offering the nominee the option to request a public discussion here instead of in executive session. And with that, first in the queue is Mr. Volin.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mario, for being here today. My question is, in 2020, you represented a group of Anchorage residents who sued the municipality and the Assembly for shutting down in-person meetings due to COVID-19 restrictions. Do you believe that you can represent the municipality fairly and adequately when you have sued the same government? Do you believe that you could uphold the laws that the Assembly passes, even if you fundamentally disagree with them?
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Assemblymember Voland. Unequivocally, yes. I will tell you that attorneys of all sorts of stripes have sued the municipality. I've been reviewing the AO 37 litigation. Susan Orlansky, one of the most accomplished litigators in the state of Alaska, was litigating in that case against the municipality. I don't think that there's anything that prohibits an attorney who has in the past litigated against a party being a zealous advocate for that party in a different issue down the road. I have ethical obligations under the rules of professional conduct, as all attorneys do. When there's a matter where I was involved on the other side, I have to disqualify myself from that matter specifically. And I can tell you that you can expect that from me, and you should expect that from me and any attorney who has been involved. And the converse is true, right? So if, as a government attorney, I'm involved in a specific case or issue, and I go into private practice, that means that I'm similarly disqualified from representing another party on that same issue. And that's a hard and fast rule for all attorneys. To your question about will I enforce the rules and the ordinances passed by this assembly, that's my job. My job is to represent the municipality and to uphold the rule of law. So absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bullen. Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Next is Mr. Dunbar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Byrd, I was looking through your resume, and I found an article on here from May 6, 2021, Common Criminality, published on the Alaska Watchman. And I thought it was an article. I went there, and I realized it's a video, right? And so I unfortunately haven't got a chance to look at it. But the banner, I mean, it says, Alaska Watchman, looking out over the crowd, picking out friends with your face on it. Could you explain what that means?
Yes. Through the chair. Thank you for the question, Assembly Member Dunbar. So if I recall it correctly, that was an article that then became a video based on language from a federal court case, or rather as a federal court judge who I think was speaking about the selectivity in some instances of some would call judicial activism. The main point of that article was when you have case law that you want to follow and there's authority on both sides, it is a temptation, I think, for judges, not for municipal attorneys, but for judges to pick out your friends. That is, only cite those cases that you're in favor of without dealing with the opposing side. That, I think, is what that particular article was about. I can tell you that as municipal attorney, both going forward and up to this point, part of my job is to see both sides of the issue. When there is case law that indicates could go this way, could go that way. It is my job to present to the municipality or any of my clients. This is a likely outcome. This is an unlikely outcome. This is a potential outcome you need to be aware of. And that's, I think the advice that I've given the Assembly since I've been here in early July has been ordered to that sort of analysis to give you an idea of here's some expectations and that you should have in mind. And that's the sort of advice I'll give to any part of the municipal government going forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. I put myself in the queue. Mr. Byrd, first of all, thank you for reaching out. I enjoyed our conversation. Especially our conversation about film. And just so you know, I had to go back and rewatch a couple of those we were talking about. I'm curious, I have two questions. And my first, you note in your resume, award-winning freelance reporter and op-ed columnist. Could you talk about the awards you've received?
Through the chair. Yes, ma'am. I received an award for an article locally that was about Toby Burke down in Kenai in 2013, who was confronted with a brown bear at the mouth of the Kasilof, and he's a long-standing biologist and his wife as well, but for whatever reason they didn't bring a gun with them that day. And through, in my view, divine intervention, that bear, which was very hungry, attacked, and he's a big bear of a guy. He attacked back, but as you know, human versus bear, usually the human's not going to win. But for reasons unknown, the bear backed off. The family was not attacked, and he had some small children with him. I wrote up the story for the local Catholic newspaper. It was submitted to a local non-religious group. I think Rosie Robards was the head of it, Alaska Press Club, I think, and it won an award for the Alaska Press Club. It was also submitted to a national religious board, and it won an award there.
Thank you. And my second question is just a general question as to how you approach the functions of your job. And I know since you've been acting in the role, you've been involved with, for example, 2 memorandums for mayoral vetoes. And I'm curious because I know your background isn't in municipal law, which is not necessarily unusual for individuals in the position. But what do you do then to get information? Or like, for example, we like with boards and commissions and pertaining to that, given that this is a new area, what's your process for getting up to speed with these areas of municipal code and approaching these kinds of issues?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. Great question, and I have to say the process has been, in the case of those particular vetoes the same both times. That was something that was delegated, and then I reviewed and eventually, I don't want to get into attorney-client privilege here, but that process, I think, that would be fair to say that would be the process, not just for something within the mayor's office, but also within any of the branches of the executive branch. It's a little different when it comes to the assembly. If there's counsel that I'll be giving to the municipal clerk or to something within the assembly's purview, in most cases that would also be delegated within the office. And depending upon what the issue was, I may or may not sign off on it. I've had both things happen, I think, in the past 7 weeks. But as far as my experience with the municipal code, yes, I'm definitely relying upon our very knowledgeable and very easy to work with team in the municipal attorney's office. They have far more experience than I do collectively and individually, and I'm happy to rely upon them and provide them insight and direction. But I think you've got a great team at the municipal attorney's office.
Thank you. Mr. Perez-Verdia?
Is there no one else in the queue? Okay.
Thanks. Thank you for being here. I have a few questions. So I'm going to dig in for a second here. So I just want to walk through a few pieces on your resume that I want to understand. Your time at Ross Minor Bird, I can't find a website for that. Is that organization still in place?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. No, it is not. I believe that the firm changed its name back in 2019, shortly after I went into solo practice. And then my understanding is that Mr. Ross has retired from the practice of law in the last year or so.
Okay. When you were there as a law clerk, associate, and then as a partner, is that correct?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. And so can you just tell us a little about the size of that organization, the budget, how many staff you oversaw, and just generally the scope?
Yes, through the chair. It was a small law firm. When I first arrived, there were 2 attorneys and 2 paralegals. I would say one and a half paralegals, because we had somebody who came in temporarily. It was a small firm. We handled all types of cases. Most of what I did was family and civil law. I also did appeals even from the time that I was working as a law clerk there. And that size of the firm continued until I moved into solo practice. I worked in conjunction with other attorneys from larger firms, and I'm always grateful to have those additional resources at hand. But that the size of the Ross Minor Bird firm, I don't think changed while I was there.
What do you think was the general size of the budget of the organization?
Through the chair, we had 3 attorneys on salary and 1 paralegal. So if I had to, I would guess somewhere between 500 and 700,000.
Okay. And so how long have you been practicing law?
I've been practicing through the chair, excuse me. I've been practicing law since 2012. That's when I passed the bar. I was practiced, so that's technical. I would say that practicing law in the sense of handling cases, there's a special bar provision that allows you to practice even though you haven't obtained your bar license, so long as you have a supervising attorney that's watching over you. And I did some of that, like I said, in 2010, drafting appeal briefs and also helping clients.
That's helpful, Madam Chair. Just a couple more, and then I'm just wanting to get the picture here. So okay, so my understanding is, so you've been practicing law for 10 years, and you were at Ross Minor and Bird, which is a relatively small, less than $1 million a year budget, and then you moved into private practice and have been doing that for 3 years. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then can you just describe the current role you're in? What's the size of the budget? How many staff do you have within the organization you're in now?
Through the chair, thank you. So the municipal attorney oversees two main branches of the Department of Law, the civil and then the prosecution. Civil, we have, I think, budgeted for 10 positions. We only have 9 civil attorneys right now. We have 3 staff, and I think we're only budgeted for 3 staff. We also have an executive staff and then myself who fall within a different bracket. The civil attorney budget, I want to say it's somewhere between 1 and 2 million. And then the executive portion of that is, I think, 300,000. Prosecution is, I think, between 1.5 and 2.5 million. There are more attorneys there. They have more staff. They have a lot more day-to-day Sturm and Drang. They're working with misdemeanor offenses and also advising the assembly when it comes to criminal law changes within the code. And then we also have, as part of our budget, the Indigent Defense Council, which we're constitutionally obliged to provide because we are a government entity. So we also have another. We've been advocating for an increase to that budget, but I think that's about 1.2 million, and that's for people who can't afford defense counsel.
Thank you. And just one last question, then I'll pause. And then on your resume, it says award-winning freelance reporter and op-ed columnist, September 2012 to present. Are you continuing to engage in that work as the municipal attorney, or has that changed?
Through the chair, no. If you want me to expatiate that, I can, but I think it is not the role of the municipal attorney to be an op-ed columnist. There may be exceptions. We've seen sitting attorney generals speak out on behalf of an administration, or I guess I wouldn't put it beyond the scope of the municipal attorney to weigh in on something regarding municipal matters, but he or she would be doing so as the municipal attorney, and that's a much different voice, in my opinion, than a member of the public at large.
So just a clarification, this is not accurate then, that you're not presently still doing that. That's what I just want to get clarified, because the document we have says that you currently are. So
through the chair, that is correct. I'm not currently an op-ed columnist.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't intend to be.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Perez Verdia. Mr. Cross?
Thank you. Seems to me like you're walking away from quite a bit in order to take this role. Potential success in the private sector, columnist, and from what I've seen, at least as far as the role of municipal attorney, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for not a whole lot of prestige or glamour. Pretty much just at the center of the hurricane. I just want to know why. Why would you leave, and why would you put all those other things that you could be doing behind and put yourself in a position in this role, which is going to be very difficult, very stressful, long hours for what doesn't look like a whole lot of reward?
Through the chair, thank you for the. Thank you for
to stick around. Is all. I mean, 6 months in, and we're doing this again. So.
Thank you for the question, Assembly Member Cross. I credit my dear wife and family. I would not have done so without her okay. But I think she and my family, with their support, I'm here to serve the people of Anchorage and to serve the mayor and the assembly in the best way that I can. As far as another comment, trying to think of what it was. You want to know why? I do think that excellent advice can keep the municipality out of court. But if we've got to go to court, we've got to fight, we got to make sure we're on the right grounds to do so. And that's what I intend to bring to the municipality. And that will have an effect that I hope benefits not just this administration and assembly, but the administrations and assembly to come. And that's part of what I mentioned in my personal statement. I am the inheritor of a very good tradition that goes back even before our state constitutional convention, when we had city attorneys here in Anchorage. And it's an honor, but it's also a public trust to be able to take that tradition and then hand it on to the next. And that's something that I want my children to learn as well.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Thank you, Mr. Byrd. I have one more member in the queue, Ms. Allard, and we have about a minute left. Go ahead, Ms. Allard.
Thank you, and I'll make it quick. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your patience. Mr. Byrd, you've helped me in the past and on a personal matter, and do you believe you can keep that? The relationship that you and I have is completely professional, and I just want to make sure that the rest of the assembly, the community, and the administration knows of your professionalism. Can you talk a little bit about how you can separate those two, as you're not handling those matters for me anymore?
Through the chair to Member Allard, thank you for the question. Yes, I will say that I did represent you for a very discrete period of time. That matter, as I understand it, has concluded long before now. I don't see a conflict of interest. If that were ever to arise, then I would certainly delegate that to my staff. But as I understand it, I'm here to serve the municipal government, to advise and assist them on public matters and not things that have to do one way or the other with private clients that I've had in the past. But I will be a zealous advocate for the municipality, as I've tried to be for all my clients.
Thank you, and I trust you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Thank you, Mr. Byrd. I do not have any other members in the queue, and we are at the end of our time. Mr. Byrd's appointment will be before the Assembly at the regular meeting of September 13. And I want to thank Mr. Byrd, Ms. Domboski, and Mr. Gerger for being here today, and for all of you as well for joining us. For Assembly members, the next work session will start at 11:50. With that, we are adjourned.